People process technology. They just go with technology and believe everything is going to work. The tool doesn't do the job. A hammer doesn't build a.
So the combination of tools that you are using, the tech stack, the technology stack, as it's known in the marketplace, it's what differentiates you from another individual, another competitor.
Staying on the right path. Just by knowing where you're going and just by prioritizing your projects to achieve what you want, you are staying on the right path. That should work. So I'm talking about keeping the information safe, keeping your data safe. And how is it the benefit of creating your own map? Hey Mo, how are you today?
It's a beautiful day to be alive. What about you, Steve?
Good, very good. So let's deep dive right in our topic today. So it's all about IT roadmaps for any types of businesses. So this is a very, very important topic in my mind. I've done a lot of those IT roadmaps for different types of organizations, could be associations, small businesses, not for profit. And it is so important to have this. And people, they don't know that the importance of having a roadmap. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It can be very simple, but man, it helps a business so much to plan on different things. And today we're going to go through the 7 key benefits. I think there are more than 7, but let's go with 7 for today on why you should have your IT roadmap. So what's your
Absolutely.
experience with IT roadmaps overall, Mo?
Yeah, so for me, it's perhaps the first question that I get anytime I'm working on a software engineering project. So the first question I get is, what is the IT roadmap that you believe our team should implement in order to get from point A to point B? And normally what I do is that I like to ask different questions. I found, Steve, during my career working as a software engineer, working as an AI trainer, that anytime that there is an AI project or a software development project, the first thing that you need to do is to understand the client requirement in order to build something that is reasonable. Often, Steve, we see tech and IT as this magical tool that can do everything. But you and I, the technical people, we know there are some limitations of hardware, software, cloud infrastructure, where some features cannot be implemented with the current technology landscape that we currently are using in our beautiful world. So first thing, let's assess the expectations. Let's ask valid questions. What are you trying to develop? What's the main goal? What's your objective? What's your target audience? What are your user base? What is the platform that you are currently trying to deploy the goods to, the products to, the applications to? And how do you see your team, your company, your application, your tech revolution 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now, so we can have an alignment? I believe in the beautiful word, which is alignment. You win, I win, your team wins, and everybody's happy. I hope that answers the question, Steve.
You're touching an important point is, I mean, a lot of business owners, I mean, yes, they like to do long plan. They like to think about 3 years down the road or 5 years later.
Yeah.
Or example, the investors are asking for that in terms of forecasting, in terms of sales, or even budget and runway and spending and all these things. But it's very tough to predict. So I would say that some people can backfire and say, I don't need a plan. I need to adapt and just move on and go quick and make mistakes and fail fast. But at the same time, the IT roadmap is important. It is a reference point. And in terms of technology, yes, you need to adapt. And yes, perhaps your plan will change. But the fact that you went through the process of developing everything, making sure it sticks together overall, and this is what we're going to talk about today, that makes a huge difference. If you have no plan, I mean, you have a
Yeah.
tool that you pay big price or it's free because you liked it because it was free. But in
Yeah.
reality, it doesn't do the job and doesn't
Mm.
speak to the other pieces within your ecosystem of technology, which is a huge problem. I've seen that so many times. That's crazy. So are you ready to go with the key benefits, Samo?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Steve. Before we do that, maybe a quick question. I know some of our listeners are not very comfortable or it's a new concept for them. What is an IT roadmap? If you can define it, Steve, in very quick terms, so we can get people into the mood and to the perhaps the spirit of IT roadmaps benefits.
Yeah, right. An IT roadmap is all about your tech projects that you have that are
Mhm,
helping, supporting your operations, your marketing, your finance, your HR stuff. So any aspect of your business can be used, can be implemented, can be configured on a tech tool, on a product, on a software, on a SaaS, whatever. So all these things, you cannot implement them all at once. It needs to
yeah,
be planned. So this IT roadmap helps
mhm,
you to make that plan. First of all, what are your priorities? Where are you today in terms of your maturity, your tech maturity, and
mhm,
where do you want to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And most
mhm.
importantly, what do you want to achieve? What is your the customer experience you would like your customers to experience and live and go through? So all these things are, I would say, can be achieved very well with technology, but the
That's a great point.
tools are not doing the job themselves. So you
Mm,
need to find out what are the gaps between where you are today and where you want to be. And with those gaps, you turn them into opportunities for improvements in terms of employee experience, customer experience, business intelligence,
mhm,
improved operations. All these things can be tackled with the plan. And after
mhm,
that, once you have those projects, opportunities, you create smaller projects and you are putting that on a high level Gantt chart where you have all your projects one after the other to make sure that you're not overwhelmed in terms of budget, in terms of task, in terms of putting your employees under stress because they need to
mhm,
manage that change. So you really need to have that in a very small pieces. Like you need to
mhm,
divide it until you understand it, until your employees understand the projects, and you can have pauses between
mhm.
those projects to make sure that your employee can breathe, can understand it, can absorb it, can adopt it, which is the most important KPI in my opinion, to make sure that the project is a success. And again, very important is to make a success of every small tech projects that you do, because those are investments, not
Yeah.
expenses. And those investments, they need to have a return on investment eventually. So you need to be successful in all of them. And at the end, you have done a very great digital transformation. And this is an IT roadmap that can guide you uh, toward that success in terms of tech project.
Absolutely, Steve. Absolutely. Love the definition. It was so refreshing to actually hear it from an experience perspective because sometimes you go and you can find the definition online. It's just a definition that is conceptual, if you will. But the one that you provided to the audience is quite experience based, so we can understand exactly how companies and how businesses need this IT roadmap. It's not just an option anymore. I think it's a must, and hopefully we're going to share a lot of knowledge today in this episode. Maybe we start with the first benefit. So, what's the first benefit, Steve, and how can you define it from your own experience?
Yep, yeah. And going back to the sequence of making your own IT roadmap example, we will do a podcast about it and having some
Yeah.
other resources for our audience to make it work and make sure that more and more companies are doing it for their success in terms of using the tech for different things and to get those key benefits. So the key benefits are not necessarily in order, Mo, and for our audience, but the first one is very simple, in a very simple terms again, staying on the right path. So
Mm,
just by knowing where you're going and just by prioritizing your projects to achieve what you want, you are staying on the right path. What I
mhm.
mean by this is you can be in a company example with some departments or even some people, if you have a small one, where they say, oh, I heard from my cousin that Monday.com is a great tool. So, okay, let's do it. Let's take it. And they just do it and they start to use it, but no configuration, no understanding of the processes, uh, quick learning curve about the tool itself. Yeah, it's simple. I can do this, can do that. Yes, but what about the other people, the other roles in the company? The other
Mhm.
departments if it's bigger, and you can end up in let's say a medium-sized company with a few departments having the same type of tools in different departments. So what does that mean? Is all confusion. You need to learn four tools for four departments. It's tough for your IT director of IT to support everybody on these four tools. So you need to have the right path. You need to know where you're going. And by having this plan, you're going to stay on that path. And if you stay on it, you're going to achieve the goals and the objectives of the company. Because
Mm,
the last word on that key benefit is every project, every tech projects also should be fully aligned with the objectives of the company. That should be
mm.
aligned, not because somebody finds a tool interesting that can do one thing. It needs to be fully aligned with the objectives. So this way, the investment, the money spent, will be done toward a piece of the success of the organization. So
That's so true.
what's your take on that one?
Yeah, Steve, I think I'm completely in alignment with your definition and your perspective. I believe that I noticed during a lot of time in many projects that I worked on that the shiny new object or the shiny new tool gets all the attention. Everybody's speaking about a new tool, it's advertised, and everyone's like, oh my God, did you use this new tool? Did you check this new tool? Did you work with this new tool? Everybody's investing in it. But if we don't have a plan, if we don't have a clear IT roadmap, we might face the issue of just depleting our resources and just investing everything that we have in terms of human resources, in terms of team intellectual property, team resources, team even monetary resources on a new tool because everybody else is doing it. But I learned over the years and over the time that the first question that we should ask is, what's in it for me? What am I going to learn from this tool? What's it is going to do to my team? Is it going to help my team, my organization, my profit margin? I always go back to the finances, Steve, because I believe that's where you see, as a company, the company can see its image, its clear image. What did we do in 2014? What did we do in 2023? So we can see a growth perhaps in the numbers, in the sales, in the profit margin, in the marketing investment, in all the numerical values, because as we say, numbers don't lie. And if the IT roadmap is providing us with the deficiency, a decrease in the amount of money that the company is currently investing, or decrease in the profit margin, or even perhaps a depletion of sales, the issue would be that we're not on the right track. So I am totally with you, Steve. I believe at the end of the day, IT roadmap should provide a clear plan, a clear definition of steps. And even if there is a new shining object, a new shining technology in the marketplace, if it doesn't fit the plan, forget about it. Don't even think about it. Let's keep going. Let's focus. And I saw this with many successful companies because those who win a marketplace, those who are high competitors, they focused. Nobody believed in them in the beginning, but they just focused every day. Day one, day two, day three. Focus, 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 focus. I believe you wanted to say something, Steve.
No, no, no. I just want to jump to the next one because, but again, the just a quick comment on what you said. I mean, defining your KPIs is very important. So, key performance indicator KPI are very important to make sure that you're progressing toward your goal. So let's go with the second one. A
Yeah.
second one is as simple as saving money. People
Ooh.
say, how come? I mean, the IT stuff has been always in I would say in the realm of expenses. You buy PCs, you buy software, people are using it, and sometimes some business owners or managers, they don't understand, or before, less today, about the investment of going with tools. But again, you need to select your tool. You need to know where you're going. You need to know that. So you can save money because instead of buying a tool, spending the time on doing something with it, whatever it is, in the wrong way, you're going to have to shut everything down and start over again. By having a roadmap, you won't make that mistake. Even if you change the tool because your plan is on over 3 years, in 2 years, you realize that the tool you had selected 2 years prior is not the
Mm.
best, but that's okay. But you'll know why because you've done your homework two
Mhm.
years ago and during that 2 years. So when you get to that point, you know exactly why you're doing it and why you're changing your idea. And that's the thing. Very simple stuff. Saving money because you know where you're going. It's like if you're traveling and you don't have a map, a road map. So
Mm.
how do you go to Florida? How do we go to Arizona? What's your road? You're going to
Mm.
snake around the country to get to your destination. So, and you're going to waste money by time, gas, food, and all these things that you need to expense. So same thing, same and very simple analogy. You need to get going with your roadmap before leaving your home.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Steve. I think that's a really good point. Especially so many times in IT, there is this belief that a high cost equals high quality. But if we think about it sometimes, and I did this in my career, sometimes a free tool can do much, much, much more than a complex, very hard to work with user interface paid tool. So it's all about what works for your business and at what level are you currently? Are you a small business, mid-sized company, enterprise client? So what's your current perhaps level? What's your current, let's say, integration in the marketplace? And how much money do you have allocated for a given tool? So saving money is very important. I am with you 100%, Steve, but also looking at the marketplace with an eye of value. So I know that as humans, we have this perceived idea that high cost equals high quality by definition. So if it's expensive. That means that that tool might be something that is very interesting. But in IT, it's all about testing, and that's why you saw so many companies, SaaS companies, or customer support services or AI tools currently in the marketplace. They will give you 15 days trial, 5 days trial, 1 month trial. Why? Because that's where you will test the tool and see how well it can be integrated with your company, your corporation, your organization, your startup team. If it works well, it's worth the investment. If it doesn't integrate very well and it's hard to use, difficult to use, we definitely have to look somewhere else. So I'm always thinking about the value-driven mentality. So is it worth the money? If yes, can we test it? How did the test go? Was it successful? Perfect. Let's go for it. Was it not a success? No worries. We move on to the next step and we try something else. So this mindset, Steve, of just trying different tools and just pushing forward is so powerful, not only in life, but also in the world of IT and IT roadmaps, because it enables you to keep going, keep moving forward. So perhaps, Steve, what would be a next benefit that we can share with our audience?
The next one is not necessarily very popular, but it could be
Okay.
very important. It should be very important for all companies, all organizations, in my opinion. But this is something like it's like the alarm system at home. We have it. We don't want
Uh,
to talk about it. That should work. So I'm talking about keeping the information safe, keeping your data safe. And
mm,
how how is it the benefit of creating your own? That should work. So I'm talking about keeping the information safe, keeping your data safe. And
mm,
how how is it the benefit of creating your own map? When you create your own roadmap, you are setting up a set of tools. Again, they're going to work together. But as an example, you have the Microsoft 365 suite within your ecosystem of tools
yeah.
because this is what you selected. Microsoft 365 has a great way of being safe and protect. It protects many, many things. And you can even have a score, suggestions, blah, 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 that you can do that nicely. You can say, oh, I'm safe because I'm using all the tools from Microsoft and they have this score. I have a great score on that thing and I'm great. But you forget that you are, example, having your data in a different tool outside of the Microsoft ecosystem. It is
Mm,
not protected by Microsoft. And you have
mm,
another tool. If you know that right at the beginning of your IT roadmap and the start of your implementation, you'll think about having a big umbrella and you'll select the best umbrella to protect you from the rain, from what's coming, Microsoft 365, and the other tools as well. And also knowing what's happening in the Cloud Act in the US, where is your data located? Is it in the
mm,
US? Is it somewhere else in the world? Is it in Canada? Where is it for you as a business? So by again selecting your tool is one thing, but looking at where the data will be stored and safe is important too. We saw during the pandemic that some countries they started to be in the protectionism mode and I'm not against that, but we need to plan it. Again, an IT roadmap won't select a tool from your cousin or your brother-in-law and say, hey, that's the best tool. And it's in somewhere else in the world that you don't have access. And if something happens, you're losing all your data. And data,
mm.
I know you're a fan of data, being in AI, being all about data. So I'm sure this one is touching you a bit more than the other one, even if it's not sexy for everybody. Perhaps it is sexy for you, Mo.
Absolutely, man. I love data and data analytics and AI. And I always say backup, 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 the backup of the backup of the backup. I know it sounds like a mouthful, but it is a beautiful, beautiful idea. So anytime that you have data, if you have intellectual property or resources, it's always a good idea to have it stored in a safe location. So a safe data center, a safe tool that uses the latest encryption methodologies and mechanisms in order to protect your data and keep it safe. Obviously, for every company out there in the marketplace, we have to respect some compliance mechanisms in order to protect our user data and user privacy. But if the data is local to your enterprise, so let's say, for example, I am a company that produces, let's say, images. I generate images for a particular goods or services for my clients. So the images that I am producing, they are the intellectual property of my client. So I have to protect that. I have to make sure that that image itself or that file, that PNG file or that specific file, it's saved in a location where in case everything goes out, let's say, for example, your data center or your cloud provider is not operating anymore, you have another backup. Why? Worst case scenario, Steve, is you have a client that loves your goods, your services, they want to buy, they can't. Wow. That is the worst case scenario because you did all the work. You did the sales, you did the marketing, you provide a good service, you gained trust. Gaining trust in the marketplace nowadays is so difficult because of the amount of tools that we have in the marketplace. So you did all the work. It took you 3 months and the client is finally there. www.steve.com. I go to the website. So just an example, by the way. So we can definitely use another example.
I don't own that website.
So let me do this. SteveOnDigital.com. So www
Ah, that's right. That's right.
www.
I got this one.
You got this, all right? So www.steveondigital.com. I go to the website and I finally want to contact Steve for one of the services. The website is not working. Wow. So that's actually part of the data protection, as you said, Steve. That's why we should always have a backup. We should always protect the data itself. And we should, I believe, use a cloud provider in the marketplace that can provide us with auto scaling and or load balancing. So the fact and the matter is, if there is a lot of traffic that is hitting your website, for example, there is a technology out there, an infrastructure, a tool in the marketplace that will enable us to balance the load, balance the traffic. So we are taking people and we are sending them to different servers, different rooms, if you will, so we don't have a crowded website and the performance will stay stable, easy. You don't even feel that something is wrong. And so many times, Steve, I noticed this because I do a lot of website deployment for many of my clients. We find web services or hosts or cloud providers where it's so cheap. You're like, wow, it's $9.99. This is amazing. Congratulations. But once you do a deployment and you get some success, you notice the website so slow. And you're like, wow, I'm getting what I paid for. It is what it is. So it's always a good idea to understand where is your success in the marketplace currently. If you are just a startup, you're testing a good, and you know for a fact that the the maximum number of clients that is going to hit your website is 10 people a month. This is just your prediction. You don't need to pay a lot of money for your cloud infrastructure because you know that this is a startup. You're just starting. You know that you're not going to attract a lot of users. So there is a limitation in your cloud provider technology. So you don't have to invest a lot of money from the start. But if your idea is already successful, you went outside, you spoke to people, you got so many people interested into the idea, you did a pre-launch, everybody's looking to get your product. I wanna access steveondigital.com. Where is the website? Send me the link. You know that once the website is live, the number of traffic is going to be super, super, super high. So being prepared is very important, and having a backup of the data is very important because that data is a shared ownership. So some of it is user, some of it is yours. So that's perhaps the situation.
So in a nutshell, architecture, having the right architecture to keep your information safe is planned right at the beginning. You don't want to change that. I
Absolutely.
mean, having the architecture being changed in the middle of a digital transformation is like changing the foundation of your home, of your house, in the
Wow.
middle of the construction, which that doesn't make sense. And one other element of keeping the information safe and that's why it needs to be planned, is if you want to sell your company, if you want to merge with somebody else, obviously there is a
Mm,
big due diligence that comes with that. And all those little things, those details are going to come up. So the skeleton are going to get out. Make sure that your information is safe, make sure it's well located. So again, it's all about planning. And perhaps
yeah,
when I said earlier that you need to look at where you are today and where you
yeah.
want to be, the where you are today is so important to realize, holy, we have an issue, we need to fix that now. So another thing is technical debt is something that needs to be corrected as well, which is part of the investment. And sometimes with technical debt, what it means, by the way, it's older products, older software, less protected. So all the things that are risky for a company in the
Mm,
future, you need to plan that as well. Take your technical debt, the things that are have been delayed for whatever reason that you need to
mm,
fix, bring them in your plan to make sure that you become more, I would say, digitally mature overall. So that's an important one, obviously, and I think it's more like I would say, I see that as a sidetrack where it applies to everything you do in your digital transformation. So, okay, let's go with the fourth one. Try to be short and quick on this one. Is it's to grow with the business by again by knowing where you're going, having a plan. You need to think about, okay, as a company, as a business owner, I want to be like 3, 5, 10, 100 millions in 3 years and 5 years. So, okay, should I go with an Excel spreadsheet today if I want to be at 3 million in 3 years? I mean,
mm,
perhaps yes, today, but in 6 months, in a year, if you have that growth, if you plan for that growth, make sure you select the right tool. And again, you
mhm,
don't need to go for the full blown thing too complex, as you mentioned earlier, but something that will grow with you. Having example, if you select a suite of tools, like Google Workspace, the Zoho One or Microsoft
yeah,
365, or any type of tools you like, look at the ecosystem and say, okay, I'm not ready yet for that thing, but I need to plan for it. And they already have it. So that ecosystem, usually at 90 some percent, they talk well to each other, all the tools within the ecosystem. It's not perfect, but it's better than having to hire a programmer to like crowbar the thing to make a software talking to another one because you need it for different reasons. Again, integration and very well connected software tools, SaaS together makes sense. So make sure it grows with you. So you need to think in advance. You need to know where you're going to be able to make the right choice. So very important. And you know, we did I mean, a small clip about 10x versus 2x. That goes with it. Having a plan that you want
mm,
to grow 10x, you can make like a slight changes, but the best decisions early on that will take the same effort than for doubling your company, but you can 10x your company with the right
mhm,
decision. And the plan can be very helpful in doing that for a business. Do you have
yeah.
any experience with that type of like having the right planning to get the right growth in your experience overall, Mo?
Yeah, Steve, and thank you so much for sharing because actually, when you spoke about integration, it actually got me back some old memories. I was like, "Whoa, integration!" I have some experience with integration where tools are not communicating with each other. I helped one of my clients, one of my closest clients that I respect, that we had such an amazing collaboration together over the years, and I noticed that the hardest part of the project during our collaboration was integrating tools that did not talk to each other from scratch. And in order to do that, Steve, we had to use APIs or application programming interfaces. And I know so many of our listeners will be reading these tech jargons online, APIs. Simply put, everybody that is listening to us, an API enables two tools to communicate with each other. It's like a language. So if Steve and I are speaking French, the API is the French language. We're just speaking bonjour, comment ça va, comment allez-vous, etc. So we're just using a language in order to communicate, and an API is the language that enables two tools, two software programs to communicate, to talk to each other in order to exchange data, in order to perform some actions. So, as Steve mentioned, it's a very difficult process to take two tools that are very apart from each other, that are not communicating by definition, and create an application programming interface infrastructure that enables these tools to communicate, to talk, to exchange data. And that's perhaps the experience I want to share with our listeners. If you want to start from scratch and you don't have a list of tools that is already that you are already using in your team, it's always a good idea, as Steve mentioned, to use a suite of tools, tools that are by definition that are already in an environment where you can exchange files, exchange information, they already talk to each other, and that will enable you to overcome that later on investment that your company or team will be having to do if you need to integrate an external tool, etc. So I have an experience with this one, Steve, because I remember the integration part of it was really, really, really difficult, not quite easy. So I know it's always a good idea to plan things right from the beginning and ask different tech stakeholders and decision makers. And this is where you come in, Steve. So you providing a roadmap to different clients is a very valuable asset because you can save them a lot of headaches and a lot of trouble in the future.
And let's go with the fifth one. Again, it's not in order. The
Yeah.
fifth one that we are talking about today. So, with everything we just talked about, and the first benefits we just discussed, obviously, when you go through that, when you are starting to implement your plan, your ideas, you want to achieve the goals that you defined right at the
Right.
beginning. And one of them is the fifth one, working faster and smarter. That's the
Mm.
goal of having those tools being implemented. So again, by planning everything advance, you'll know what to do, and having those projects being well aligned will define, and you won't go too fast. I had a teacher a long, long time ago, like 30 some years ago, who said, if, I mean, he said, "Don't just go at the right speed, feel that you're going very, very fast, but you're not going that fast. So this way you are right in the middle. In the case of a digital transformation, it is exactly it, where you need to slow down, but you need to go fast at the same time. There is a strong and a fine balance in between. And what I mean by this is, example, you have the project of implementing one tool. You have like maybe five tools overall, but the third one is a tool that, okay, all the employees are going to use that tool. Example, this is
Mm.
something that communicates with the customers. So do you just set up the tool and say, hey, by the way, here's the tool, go for it, boom, you're done, let's move on. No, you need to configure it. You need to train the employees on that new tool with the right configuration. And you need to build a knowledge base. So how come they will remember all the training? How come they will know what to do in front of a
Mhm.
customer under pressure? So having a
Mhm.
knowledge base beside the tool, which sometimes doesn't come with a tool because you have your own processes, you need to adapt to that with the tool in terms of configuring it with your assets, but also knowledge base on how to use this tool with the right configuration. So you need to do that videos, tutorials, something very simple but efficient for them to refer to so they can be better, they can work smarter, and they can work faster. That's the goal. If you jump in, you say, "Oh, we have this tool. Boom! Yeah, it costs $3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Oh, let's move on." I mean, you're wasting that money. You're totally wasting that money.
Mm.
There is no point of having a success and having the employees adopting it. And if they don't adopt it, that's a waste of money. So you cannot afford that. So again, by dividing that in projects and sub projects, you need to think about, I mean, people, process, and technology. This is very important. So you bring the tech, take care of your people, make sure the processes are well, I would say, adapted,
Mhm.
improved, and the employees are using them. So all these things together to work smarter and faster are one of the main objectives of doing a transformation, obviously.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting, Steve. Actually, I would love to ask you a question. Did you start doing these perhaps roadmaps early on in your career, or it came perhaps from experience? It came from working on many projects? Because I know that your valuable lesson experience that you have will be super useful to our listeners.
Yeah, it happens that a while ago, like more than 10 years ago, after I sold my company to a US company,
Yep.
um, I stayed there to transfer technology. So we had a very interesting budget to put forward a customer experience, but also employees experience while improving the operations. So a big project that's okay in our mind. That's great. We need to improve the customer um, appreciation at the end. It was a complex product to build. We were shipping outside of our country to be in the US without them seeing us at all. So I will save the details, but the what I learned, I say, okay, I need to create something. I need to have a plan because that's
Mm.
the way I think. This is the way my brain works. I said, okay, let's do this part, this part, this part, and overall, basically, I created a roadmap for this project. And at that time, there was the only tech that we were using anyway, so it wasn't like a big tech ecosystem like we may have in certain companies, even small ones. It was like a few tools. But at the end, we had a bunch of tools. We were using Salesforce.com, which was the no software pub at that time, publicity. And we kind of work out with different things. So, yes, it was a great, great experience. And said, oh, this is something that most of the director of IT or CIOs and business owners need to understand. And
Mm.
after I stayed in this company for 18 months, I decided to start a consulting firm. And guess what? What I started to do, creating IT roadmaps for companies. And with creating the right IT roadmaps with the business owners, the management, they understood the importance of it, but they also understood the benefits of creating a roadmap, but the benefits of implementing it.
Mhm.
So in my case, I'm very proud to see that what I create as an IT roadmap with my team, I also work with my team and collaborators to implement what we designed. So it's not only a PowerPoint for a PowerPoint, it's a PowerPoint that can
Mhm.
be implemented with success, with proven success. So that's how it came to my story.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So it came from necessity. That's how I understood it. It came from necessity, and I think it's much needed, Steve, especially after our conversation today. And we spoke about this in the past. It is much needed in the marketplace, especially. I know that, Steve, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is a higher percentage of IT projects that fail in the marketplace, right?
70%, Mo, 70% are still
Wow.
failing
C'est trop.
because, again, with everything we mentioned, people are just
Wow.
buying or subscribing to a tool and they hope for the best. So people process technology, they just go with technology and believe everything is going to work. The tool doesn't do the job. A hammer
Wow.
doesn't build a house. You need to have a plan, you need to have people. So it means processes, people, and the tool.
Absolutely. And with
Simple as
that,
that. So yeah,
with that,
yeah.
Steve, perhaps we
So
could say, what's the next one?
yeah. And next one is very important. So when you do those things, when you go through a digital transformation, I would say the two most important things you should have in mind are customer experience,
Mm.
talked about it a bit, and business intelligence, BI. What does that mean, BI? In simple terms, it means making better choices, making better decisions, and move faster, smarter, and better overall. So
Mhm.
by having a roadmap, having all these tools that are talking to each other and having those employees gathering data information, keep the data safe. All the data is going to be well gathered in a very high quality manner. This way, you can pull out this data. You can pull out the even the brains of those employees, and you put all that together to have more intelligence about your market, about your processes, about your technology, and about your people. With this, the management can understand what needs to be done, what needs to be improved, and it can reprioritize even the plan itself or other parts of the business to make it better. So, there is something I heard a long time ago about an entrepreneur or a business owner. It's like somebody who is sitting in the back seat of a car, looking back and try to tell the driver where to go. The meaning that the entrepreneur sees the past,
Hmm.
and from the past, he needs to predict the future by telling other people, the driver, where to go. So that's
Mm.
very complicated. But if you have more information from the past, from the now, this is where you can more predict the future. And the more data you have, the more AI you use with that data, and also your own judgment, you can be better at making decisions that will be very instrumental to the success of you. So BI, business intelligence, to make better choices is the key advantage of having the right roadmap well implemented.
That's
But what about
interesting.
BI in data mode? This is
Yeah, this
really
is
in
my
your skill and interest.
yeah. Absolutely, Steve. I believe that late, perhaps early on, data collection was not something that is important to so many companies. But after the AI revolution and the data revolution, we see a lot of tools such as Tableau, Power BI, Databricks, and the marketplace currently that are providing a fully integrated feature set that enables you to take your data and see some data insights from it, which means you can take data from the finance department, the marketing department, the HR department, and look at the data from a decision maker viewpoint. See exactly what's missing, what's there, what's not there, what's the how, what's the why, what's the when. So many times I believe data is a beautiful tool that provides us with answers that we didn't even ask the question for, because you can see some interconnectivities between these data points, and you can see exactly what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And I believe anytime that you're dealing with a data set inside your organization, it's always a good idea to be extremely pragmatic. Look at the data logically and see exactly where you are. Be honest, be frank, and be in tune with your company, in tune with who you are. If you are not making perhaps or you're not hitting your goals, let's say financial goals, or even your marketing goals or your HR goals, number of clients are leaving your company or number of employees are leaving your company, perfect. Why? What happened? What did we do wrong? What's not working? So for me, data analytics and business intelligence is a true truth provider to organizations, because it will tell you exactly what's going on inside your organization if the data is cleaned, the data is well structured, and you are using the right tool in order to extract insight from that data in order to make your decision. So it's pretty much a decision making tool, Steve. And I noticed that so many companies currently in around the world, startups and small business owners, are understanding the value of data. Obviously, if you're just starting, you wouldn't have access to a lot of data because you're a startup, you're a small business, you're just getting started. It's always a good idea to go and find publicly available data sets that are comparable to your business. If you are an electronic store, what are some electronic stores in your city, in your area, in your local area? See what they're doing so you can understand what's happening. Obviously, you can reach out to them. Hey, my name is Mo. I would love to know a little bit about your business. Ask them some questions, get a conversation going. Data for me, Steve, can also be a conversation. So let's say I have an electronic stores in my local city. I will go to every electronic store in my city with a questionnaire. Can I have 5 minutes for your time, please? I have some questions. If you can give me 5 minutes, I would really appreciate it. You ask your question, you collect the data, then you come back and you do an analysis of that data to see exactly what is the path that most successful businesses in your areas are taking. How can I implement it in my business? And voila, you just won easily without any issues.
One thing I'd like to add to this, I think, it's more than one thing because it's all, for me, it goes all together very, very well.
Yeah.
If you want to have business intelligence the right way, so BI the right way, you need to have data. You need to have good data. And in order to get good data, you need to have the right tool. So the tool selection process is
Mhm.
important. So which is done at the beginning of the IT roadmap design, at the end of the design of the IT roadmap, I should say. But also, I talked about customer experience. I talked about employee experience. So those employees need to be well trained to gather the information in the right way, in the right tool, to make sure it's well categorized. So the configuration of the tool, the training of the people, the technology used, again, it goes all together. That
Mm.
will bring the business intelligence. And again, what I said at the beginning, you need to know what are your goals eventually. By knowing your goals, you'll know what KPIs you need, key performance indicator. And from the KPI, that will tell you what type of business intelligence you need to get. And from the BI you need to get, you know what data, how to enter it,
Mm.
what are the fields, how to train the people, what to select in terms of tools. All these things just make sense from the end as of today when you build a roadmap. So I think that just with this one, people can get that you need to have a roadmap in order to plan a successful digital transformation. So I went a bit longer because I'm very, I would say, passionate about that piece,
I know.
and not doing a plan for a plan. You can have simple plan, you can have like something more complex, but overall, you need one anyway.
True, true. True, Steve. Do we have one last benefit that you can share with
Yeah, we
our
have one
audience?
left. One left,
Oh,
which is very, I mean, all business owners will relate to that. You need to stay competitive. So you need to stay ahead of the competition. And you
mm,
know that technology is everywhere. And you can say, oh, okay, now I want to invest in tech. I have a budget for it. Yes, but how do you spend this money? And you want to
mm,
spend it like for 6 months, 12 months and end up killing the project after all that time? You would have wasted 1 year of bringing your competition to the next level to perhaps go lower, waste a lot of money from your budget, your revenues, your profits, whatever it comes from. And you have fed up your employees during that year and they don't want to
mm,
restart again with a new tool. Change management is a big, big thing in digital transformation. So you have to take care of that. You have to make sure that you are taking care of your employees. So again, if you plan it forward, very well. You know what tool, you know what to do with your employees, you know when to give them pauses to make it successful and bring them to the game of designing, configuring, and using their methodologies, their processes to bring that in the tool and make sure it's okay, get the right data and get them involved for the success of it. And that's going to be a huge, huge, huge difference. And all these things eventually will bring you to better decisions, happier employees, employees with more information, better information, and customers' information in their hands quickly if they are dealing with customers. This way, they'll be able to respond better to the customers. Customers will appreciate that, keep buying the product, the service from them, and be happy to contact these guys because they know everything, they're helping. So, all these things are obviously very, very beneficial, great benefits for a company. Again, employees are happy, customers are happy, management is happy, better revenues, more profits. So staying ahead of the competition by using the technology, because if you don't do it, your competitors will do it and they will win the battle.
mm, mm. That's a fact. That's a fact, Steve. I noticed this. I noticed so many times that two companies that just started in a marketplace, one company is using the latest technology, another is not. And you see that the one that is using the latest technology is getting the market share, is getting the competition, is perhaps winning with the customers. And perhaps a small tip that I would love to share with our audience is so many times it doesn't really revolve around one tool. It's a combination of tools that you are using. So the combination of tools that you are using, the tech stack, the technology stack, as it's known in the marketplace, it's what differentiates you from another individual, another competitor. And if you can find a technology stack that fits your business needs and fits your customers, wow, you're a lucky person. Congratulations, you won.
Good. So if we summarize all of them for the people who stayed until the end, so staying on the right path. One, saving money. Two, keeping information safe, growing with the business, working faster and smarter, and making better choices, AI, and staying ahead of the competition, which should matter to every business owner. So that
Wow.
was the 7 benefits. I'm sure we could have gone a lot longer and have even more
Yeah.
benefits. But the long story short, get your IT roadmap in order as soon as possible to make sure that the tech choices and the investments you'll do are going to be the best things you could do for your company to stay ahead of the competition, increase revenues, and make profits.
Let's go. Get that map.
Okay, Mo. So have a great day and see you
Thank
on
you.
another podcast.
See you soon, Steve. Take care.